Please sit, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the 2016 Athletic Assembly for the winter term. Firstly, I want to thank everyone who made this term such a great success. Please hold your applause until the end so we can thank everyone together. I'd like to thank the kitchen, laundry, and maintenance staff, Stefan, all the drivers, and all the people involved in organizing transportation, our nurse and physiotherapist, Mr. Samard and Mr. Ryu, the administration for all their support, Tal and Roydell for all their help, and Miss Alta for all her time and commitment. Please help me in thanking these people. I'd also like to thank all the coaches that you see before you here today for their dedication and leadership throughout the season. They provided so much positive energy for all your teams. Please help me in thanking them as well. And finally, I'd like to thank all you, the student athletes, for your commitment, enthusiasm, and sportsmanship. It makes me so very proud to hear so many people from the community commenting on how respectful and polite Stanstead College athletic teams are when traveling and playing away. Thank you again for representing the school so well and carrying on the strong tradition of Stanstead College athletics in everything you do. It is incredible to me how much hard work everyone at Stanstead puts into athletics. And it is a real pleasure to have everyone gathered here tonight to celebrate together all the experiences, performances, and achievements of our teammates, our peers, and our friends. At this time, I want to ask Mr. Ryu to come up and help me introduce the evening.
Thank you to Mr. Benbenek for your efforts and success with the athletic program. Just a few short words to express my gratitude to the many people who've worked tirelessly at Pat Burns Arena and behind the scenes throughout the year. The coaches, Mark, Mario, Josh, Andre, and the entire arena staff, Rick Castonguay and his team of officials, most of the time, Céline and the group of minor officials helping the music and the Clark, Madame Perrault, Dr. Charette, PY, Sarah Jad, Olivia, and the entire medical team. As always, Miss Alta, Madame Larose, and the entire laundry, kitchen, and maintenance staff. Mr. Dozois and the driving team, especially Luc. Mrs. Cabana and Jones in the business office. And a big shout out to Mr. Coulombe for his incredible dedication building our strength and conditioning program. There's no doubt in my mind that the athletes have been the best athletes in the third period this year, and that's largely in part to some of the things he's done. The school administration, the board of trustees for their support, the teachers for working so passionately with their athletes both in and out of the classroom, to you, the students, for working so hard in your respective classes and sports, striving to fulfill your dreams and being the best student athletes that you can be, while trying to be ever present whenever possible to support one another at the arena, the gym, the field, whatnot. Your Spartans, 200 strong, red, white, proud, and humble. As the legendary John Wooden once said, be true to yourself, make each day your masterpiece, help others, drink deeply from good books, make friendship a fine art, build a shelter against a rainy day, and pray for guidance and give thanks for your blessings each of those days. Without further ado, please welcome Monsieur Charette and the Bantam boys.
Good evening, everybody. Okay. First, I would like to thank Mr. Ryu, Mr. Colomb, and Mr. Vanas for their huge help all along the season. I also want to thank the supporting staff at the arena, Jose at the health center, and and all the people that make the hockey season possible, including the prep boys who helped us for a few games, in fact, for a few wins. The season began with 13 boys and 1 girl. Good job, Mo. It's not always easy to play with a bunch of machos, including me, of course. A mix of bantams and intramuros. So we faced a strong competition, and we ended the season with 3 wins, 5 losses, and 2 ties. I want to thank all the players on that incredible team for their effort during the games, the practices, on and off the ice, and for their good behavior all over the season, who contributes to the Stanstead College standards. You are young players, but you are here to learn and to represent those standards. I will make 2 special mentions, one for sportsmanship and one for improvement. I will have the 2 players to come together for their awards. The first player was a model of commitment, helpfulness, and fair play for each and every minute of this hockey season. I am very impressed by his maturity and his consideration for others. I wish that he will enjoy the game of hockey again. I named this guy our captain when our former captain, Patrick Young, left for an exchange program. And he helped me all over the season. I should almost consider him as an assistant coach. For this award, I will invite Dixon Lang to come in front and receive the sportsmanship trophy. For the Bantam Award, I want to congratulate the player who arrived at the beginning of the season and asked me, "Sir, do I make the team? Hockey is my life." Well, of course, he made the team, but he was pretty much buddy surfing on the ice for the first games. But after many efforts, he became a player with a lot of intensity and improved his skills very much. He's a tough and dedicated hockey player now. He is still sometimes buddy surfing on the ice, but more because of his intensity and his kamikaze style. For the Bantam S, I will invite Hidenobu Kaga to come and answer the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Charest. At this time, I'd like to call up the coach for the Bantam boys basketball team, Mr. Clark.
You guys don't have to stop cheering just yet, actually. I was quite enjoying that. First and foremost, I'd like to tell the senior boys basketball team to not try to make me laugh through this presentation. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. First and foremost, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed your dinner. This is my first time as head coach up here. Actually, it's my first time as a coach in general. This is not my first athletic assembly, not for you guys as well. You know we're going to be here a while, so get very comfortable. Many of you guys have seen me around school, probably have no idea who I am. My name is Roydell Clark, like Mark said. Mr. Clark works as well. It's a name I've been trying to get used to for the last year and a half. Definitely in the last couple months being here at Stanstead. If you do forget that, that's completely fine. You can call me what the Bantam boys called me all year, and that is Coach Sir. Why so formal? It beats me. Why not just coach? Why not just sir? I have no idea. They call me Coach Sir all year long. I even had one player actually at the end of the basketball season. I won't call it any names. Bantam. He's right there. He actually came to me one day. He said, Coach Sir? I said, yes. He said, how's life? I thought it was an interesting question. I entertained it, definitely. I said, you know what, my life is going good. I was surprised by it. I said, my day's going good. The weather's nice. You know, that's a whole bunch. How's yours? He said, it's good. He says, Coach Sir? I said, you know, Bantam, you don't have to say Coach Sir every single time you say a sentence to me. You know that, right? He's like, Coach Sir? What's your name? Mind you, this is after season. Here I am thinking that I did a fairly decent job. I gave myself a pat on the back for the season, only to have one of my players come to me after coaching them for 3.5 to 4 months, asking who I am. So one, I'm telling you guys this. You guys have a couple names. If you guys are interested in calling me anything, I just gave you guys a couple names to call me by. Also, if you guys are wondering how good a coach I was, I think that story indicates, or that's a very good indication as to how good I was as a coach. Probably not all that good. With that said, never a dull moment in the Bantam boys. Before I get into our season and sort of a recap of it, I would first like to give thanks to the teachers and staff for making sure that the students or my players were doing what they needed to take care of or taking care of what they needed to do in the classroom. I'd like to thank maintenance for keeping the facilities clean and making sure that it's in tip-top shape. I would like to thank all the drivers for tolerating our loud and sometimes obnoxious behavior on the bus, singing random Justin Bieber songs. I would like to thank Tony. Is Tony here? Here. Can you stand up, Tony? That's my guy. Couldn't have done it without him. Assistant coach. Couldn't have done it without him. I would like to thank Alta for all the work that she's done. She's definitely an invaluable asset to Stanstead College, and her value cannot be overstated. I'd like to thank Ms. Hession, Mr. Blair for covering my practices when I couldn't be there, and also helping me with game strategies. Parents as well for raising such great kids, but more importantly, raising some very interesting kids as well. It made for some very fun times, day in and day out. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Jose and the Health Center, as well as Ms. Campbell with their after-school hours for supervising my team for most of the year. As far as the season is concerned, I wasn't Coach Sir and the Bantam Boys united in January, so following the Christmas break. Prior to that, it was Coach Mark leading the Bantam Boys. I was informed that the group that I was eventually going to coach was a group that worked very hard and had an extremely good work ethic. Before the season, it was to my understanding they won a lot of games with the margin of 20 plus or so. They also lost a couple of games, but relatively close. I was very thankful to know that the group of guys that I was going to be coaching worked hard and had a very good work ethic, because as many coaches and teachers would know, it's pretty hard to teach work ethic, if at all possible. So I was very thankful to know that. The second half of the season or term was very much like the first half. We won some games, we lost some games, roughly kept around a 500% record. We did not make playoffs. There was a lot of strong teams in our conference, but we worked hard, we played hard, and for that I am not disappointed with our results, and I don't think the guys should be disappointed as well. So the team, no season is without its fair shares of ups and downs. Early in the season, I found that our team at times got down on one another. And two, our team morale depended largely upon the score. As time went by, as we practiced more and we had more games under our belt, we started to focus on what we could control, and we had a never be twice defeated motto. That is to say, not only do your opponents think they can beat you and want to beat you, but don't let yourselves feel the same way as well. So that's the motto that we took on, and I noticed that the guys really did encompass that throughout the year. And yeah, I don't know how else to say that. So Yeah, in terms of the successes for the year, there's two major successes that I think about. One is teaching them how to do a left-hand layup. It only took a week and a half to do so. Bantam, you might not remember my name, but hopefully you remember who taught you how to do a left-hand layup. I take a lot of pride in that. Two, the number one success when I think about our team, I think about the first game following the Christmas break. We had really no time to practice or really get acquainted with one another. It was a home game, and if my memory serves correctly, it was against Richmond, I don't know, maybe the B team or the A team. And I remember thinking the night before I sat up, it was my birthday, I can't forget, thinking about all the team philosophies, the values I'd like to have, and my role in all of it. What do I have to do as a coach? How do I have to conduct myself in order for these values, to be instilled so that my players are better at the end of the season, but also better young men coming out of the year. A couple of the things that I thought about, I'm also a coach that they can trust. Some of the things that I thought about was conducting myself in a manner that was respectable. My temperament was fine. For instance, whenever we call the timeouts, give them 1 or 2 pointers so that they can go into the game to better our situation and eventually win. Another thing would be if we're up by 20, to never get too high, never get too low. If we're down by 20, the same exact thing. I'm a first-year coach. Nothing went as planned, as you can imagine. Every time out I called in that game, I spent 99% of the time learning who was who. I remember this exactly. I said, Bantam, you're subbing in for Henry. He says, no, I'm Peter. He's Bantam, and that's not Henry, that's Vince. I'm like, okay, fine. Both of you guys sit down. Finn, you sit down too. I'm not Finn, I'm Fred. So I'm like, so who's Finn? Oh, Finn's at the health center. I'm like, okay, fine. Anyways, like I said, never a dull moment. Didn't have time to get to the X's and O's, but again, when you play hard, none of that really matters, and we played so hard that game that they made the X's and O's completely irrelevant. That game went into overtime. They scored a free throw to put them up by 1, roughly with 12 seconds left. Tyler scored a layup. They had a fast break layup, but none of our guys getting back. I don't know how that happened. It drives me crazy. Anyway, they missed the layup. It was Henry that got the rebound. Henry, stand up, actually. I like to embarrass you guys. My coach used to do this to me. It was actually Henry who got the rebound with 8 seconds left. So all the stuff I thought about the night before, about keeping a calm, collected head, went completely out the window. I was at half, jumping up and down with my clipboard, yelling at Henry, saying, hold the ball, hold the ball. He looked at me, he nodded his head, he threw the ball up in the air as if he won an NBA championship. I'm losing my mind at this point. I had dropped the clipboard. They get the ball back, they shoot, they miss. We get the ball back again. This time it's Dolan. Dolan, please stand up. I'd like to embarrass you as well. Say hi to everyone. He gets the ball with 4 seconds left. I look at him, I see Dolan, hold the ball. He looks at me in congruence, so I think everything is fine. He also throws the ball up in the air as if he won the NBA championship, as if he went back to back. I'm losing my mind at this point. The clipboard's on the ground. I'm screaming, yelling. They got the rebound. They ended up missing. We ended up winning. Everyone's ecstatic. Everyone's happy. I remember calling in a huddle saying, very good job, guys, but we have to listen when the coach says, hold the ball. What they told me is they said, oh, coach, coach, sir, we thought you said throw the ball. So again, just to show you, it was never a dull moment from the beginning of the season. It continued that way all the way to the very end of the season as well. Thinking about the team collectively, great group of guys. I'm also very young, and I'm sure all the teachers and all coaches feel the same, but when you're around a group of guys, or you're coaching or teaching, they grow on you, and it was a very, very fun year, and you end up learning a lot about not only them, but you learn a lot about yourselves. Each player brought something unique and different to the table. I'd like to quickly recognize 1 or 2 things of each player. For instance, Henry on the court, he was a dependable point guard. He got to the rim all the time, off the court. He kept a positive mood, and he's always giving us suggestions. He's very witty. For instance, I remember one pregame speech that we had. We were talking about advantages in the game. He suggested that we take one of their best players and put them in the ventilation system, in the roof, and that way we'd have a permanent advantage for the game, and we could release them at the end when the game is done. So always having an answer. I remember that. So yes, Vince on the court. Strong rebounder, played very hard, quiet for the most part. But towards the end of the season, he started to find his way, started being more comfortable, started taking his shots, and really helped us out in some of the games that we needed him. Jolin on the court, Mr. Speedy Gonzalez. He scored a lot of baskets on the fast break. I would have loved to play with him because half the baskets that he missed goes right off the backboard, and I would have easily dumped those back in. So I would have really loved to play with you if you're on my team. We did not see eye to eye. There was one game I remember at Richmond. You told me that the other guy is too big, he's too strong, and you quickly realized that I'm the wrong guy to tell that to. I'm not all that big, I'm not all that tall either. And you realize that there's other ways to beat him, and from there on, you're a much better player moving forward. Tyler, you're not exactly, Tyler, where are you? There you are. Tyler, where is it here? He's a strike shooter, scores when you need him the most, in the weirdest of ways, most positive and energetic kid you'll ever meet. I have an affinity for Tyler especially because he's left-handed, and so am I, and I don't know, I just think that's kind of cool actually. Anyway, Finn, never had a chance to actually see you play. He spent, I think, more time in the health center than he did at practice. I guess that's completely fine. Though I did get to see you at the end of the season. You did scrimmage a lot. We could have used you in the game. You're very quick. You're very agile. Would have been nice to actually see you. Hopefully you get to play juniors, and I get to see it sometime there. Perhaps maybe if I come back at some point in time. Bantam, you hustle for every single ball. You look like you have no knees. And what I mean by that is you fall for no apparent reason whatsoever, but you're going after the ball and you get back, you get right back up every single time. I think that was, you set a good example for the rest of the team when it comes to hustle. Peter, for playing, every single time you played, where's Peter? There you are. Actually, can you stand up? Yes, okay. For Peter, played very hard, fouled out almost every single game. Love him to death though. He did what he needed to do. Fred reminds me most of myself. If you look at Fred, you don't think he can do much, but when the ball drops, you get to really see everything that he's made out of. A lot of people would count him out, but he's one of the most hardest working players that I've ever seen, ever since myself. Anyways, last but not least, before I give the last mention to the person on the team, this member of the team, he was always on time, always get the guys focused before practice. He always led the warm-ups. He got everyone in good spirits. He was the leader that everyone looked to when things were going wrong, and he always kept things in perspective. Not only was he respected by the other teams, he was respected by our team as well and our players, and definitely had my respect. And for that reason, I am honored to award the Bantam as well as the Sportsmanship Award to Andre Bukatel. So Andre, if you can Can you do it the other way so the light was facing me? Got flash? Nice. Yes.
Still getting used to calling you Mr. Clark, but thank you very much, Mr. Clark. Can I invite up the next speaker of the night, the Bantam girls basketball coach, Miss Hessian, please.
Stop back to follow there, Coach Sir. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking Elty Sheldon. Elty, you are certainly the most important person for us, and I know the girls all appreciate everything that you do, both on a day-to-day basis, but also when we're on the road. And I know they love it when you get on the bus and wish us well. And I think that's one of the most touching things I think for us is that that's the people and the persons that we are here at Stanstead. And Mr. Ryu alluded to it before when he talked about supporting each other. And so thank you for your support, obviously with your work, but also cheering us on. We appreciate that. Ms. Reynolds and the Skittles crew for all the work that you do in the minor officials. To Mr. Bantam for organizing our season, and the Health and Wellness Center for keeping our players healthy and well. Coach Sir and the Bantam boys for the road trips. The driving team for putting up with the obnoxious Bantam boys on the road trips. And the girls themselves for all the energy and enthusiasm they put into making the last 4 months exactly what it was. So this season for the Bantam girls basketball team was certainly a season of firsts. Virtually everything that happened was a first. But there's two categories of the ways that you can think of your very first. There's either the one that when you share it with your friends, you'll call it that time, like, oh, that time. Or that you'll call, remember when. So I have two categories of those, and I think all 8 girls will be able to find yourselves in each one of these. There was that time you realized that you were allowed to dribble. That time you passed the ball to the other team. That time you fouled out. That time you threw the ball backwards over your head. That time you scored on your own basket. That time you tried to defend someone that was 3 times your size. That time you took 8 steps for that layup. And that time you got pinged with the ball. But there's also a lot of remember whens. Remember when you dove for your very first ball on the floor? Remember when you reached out for your first interception? Remember when you grabbed that first rebound? Remember when you scored your very first basket? Remember when you hit that first foul shot? Remember when you dribbled the ball right out of her hands while she was dribbling? Remember when you fell down and jumped right back up? Remember when you blocked that shot? Bam girls, you remember when you won that game? That felt like you won the NBA championship. As a Bantam coach, part of our role is to develop players that you can pass on to the next level. So as someone who has worked with these girls for the last little while, I have some advice for who I'll be passing these on to, whether it's a basketball coach or a rugby coach or a coach of a future sport somewhere else. You need to know their likes and their dislikes. They dislike running, they dislike burpees, push-ups, dribbling drills. They dislike long practices, they dislike warm-up. And they dislike being without their phones. But they have a lot of likes too. They like game time, they like road trips, they like knockout, they like getting revenge, they like laughing and having fun, they like quality time and selfies, and they like meaningful conversations. Miss, how's life? I don't know, I can't think about the games going on right now. No, seriously, I just feel like talking. So, when did you know you wanted to be a teacher? I don't know, she's gonna foul out, relax. Anyway, that's what it's like with the Bantam girls. So there's a few things I want you to remember about yourselves as you move forward from this. I want you to remember that you're courageous, that you're ferocious, that you're tenacious, that you're capable, you're lovable, you're adventurous, sometimes dangerous. You're funny, you're bubbly, and that you're loaded with potential. And most importantly, over the last 4 months, you have shown me that you know how to be a team. And so I thank you for that. Thank you. And finally, I have 2 awards that I'd like to invite them both to come up together. One is to our most ferocious person on offense, who said to me one time, you know what, miss? I hate that on every single team that we play, there's someone just like me. And I hate that. I hate that person. That's because she's so ferocious. That's Luisa da Costa. That's the award. And the other is for our sportsmanship award, but also beyond our sportsmanship is for our most ferocious defender. The best defender, without question, hands down, on this team is Sumomo Susuda. He's the person that you can count on to play against someone always that is 3 times your size. If you give me the biggest person on every team that we played against, and you might not realize it, but Sumomo is your person, and yet she will get knocked down, and she will be okay and get back up, and she loves to play defense more than anyone can think of coach in a long, long time. So congratulations, come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hessian. At this time, I'd like to call up the coach for the junior boys basketball team, Mr. Blair.
Good evening. Many thanks to Alta for making sure we had the right stuff to play and practice every day and for looking after the jelly beans. To Ms. Reynolds and the Skittle crew, thank you very much for all the game help. To Jose for keeping the boys healthy. To Mr. Van Dyke, to Mrs. Wolf and the senior girls basketball team for keeping the boys' egos in check at the beginning and the end of the season. And to Mr. Bebenik and the senior boys for the help this season, in particular for Mr. Bebenik for bribing the Massey Bandy and VCS coaches to actually put a team in the league so we can play this year. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Michael Zhang for all his hard work this year as team captain and team leader, and ask him to come forward, please, to receive the sportsmanship trophy and the junioress. Overall, we had an excellent season. We were 11 wins and 4 losses. We dominated our league, and we were very competitive in our tournaments. The highlights included placing second in the VCS tournament, where we played against a very big, very talented St. George's team in the finals. We had 2 great games against VCS, and we went to the provincials, where we discovered how tall and how athletic Montreal teams really are. I'd like to congratulate the following groups of boys: to Ben, Andrew, Carson, and Thomas for all your help this season. Thank you so much. To Michael, Bill, and Peter, all relative rookies to the game. They practiced hard all season and improved significantly. They all got some much needed playing experience this year, and I appreciate your effort. To Tyler, Guyao, and Tim, who made the transition to the faster, more physical junior level basketball and participated very well indeed. And finally, Mike, Nick, and Diego, who are the engines who would grind out points, play hard on defense, and they're always positive. Many thanks, boys, for such a great season. Cheers.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. At this time, I'd like to call up the coach for the junior girls basketball team, Ms. Robitaille.
This term, I had the chance to coach a player of the junior girls basketball. I say a chance because I had the honor to meet these most amazing girls. I say also amazing because they gave me everything they had, and it showed by an exceptional season. I could not hope better for my first year as a coach. I can say that they taught me more things than I taught them, and I can certainly remember 3 things especially. First, they showed me the meaning of the word pride. Each game, I saw girls give 100% on the court, whether they were leading by 20 or losing by 60 against a great senior team. They never let themselves down. Second, they showed me that they knew the word team. Everything they did it as a team. If some of them needed to run suicide, the other girls were there to support them by doing it too. Third, I learned what was a Stanstead Spartan. A Spartan is an athlete who truly represents her school wherever she goes by a positive and polite attitude. It was also the respect that emerged from that attitude. This respect does not only appear during games, but more with all the people we cross during our various trips. In fact, I have seen girls thank the bus driver, the referees, other players, coaches, and me. I could not be more proud of the attitude that my daughters have shown during the year. I say my daughters because for me, they literally become a part of my family. I took care of them as they were taking care of each other. They trust me throughout the season like their mom. So for this, I want to say thank you sincerely. I have so many good memories with them that I will never forget. For example, our classic pizza party at my house, spending our time singing High School Musical while Maya and Alisa were taking 1,000 of snapshots of their crazy face. Or simply during trips when we were having our various boys' talks. I learned among this discussion that Becky was in love with... Sorry, I'm kidding. Becky's like, Becky, I'm kidding. Actually, I did not have many rules in my team, but one of them was what it said between the basketball girls say between members of the team. So, sorry, it's a secret. Another rule that I gave them was that every time they were on the court, they should have fun. The girls can testify how many times I had to tell them to put a smile on their face while they were playing. Actually, too often. For me, sports is primarily a way to change your mind doing exercise in friendly company. In fact, the girls probably do not remember the number of games they won during the season, but they certainly will remember for a long time how they laughed together. So I would like to say thank to my team for this great adventure and for all the emotion you made me feel. I'm so proud of you, actually. I would also like to thank Mark Bebenek for trusting me as a head coach while I was in my first year at school. Finally, I want to say a special thanks to our wonderful Miss Elta, who always made sure we had everything we need. You're so amazing. Now is the part where I need to highlight a few people who stood out during the season. So I found it really hard to select someone because for me, everybody deserves it. I will start with the Sportsmanship Award. So when I look in the dictionary, the definition of sportsmanship, in case you didn't notice it, English is not my first language. So I didn't know that word before, like Sunday night. So in short, the definition that I found refers to a person with proper consideration for fairness, ethics, respect, courage, and persistence. By reading this definition, I immediately think of a particular player. This player had never played in a basketball team before October. She arrived at the first practice explaining that she was ready to play, but she didn't know the rules. She told me, in the worst case, I can sit on the bench and just encourage her team. Well, she did not stay long on the bench. She came to every practice ready to learn something new. She took every bit of advice and tried to incorporate her on her game. And guess what? She probably has become one of my best defensive players. For me, she deserved this award because she was one of those who never gives up and was always there to cheer her teammates. She understood better than anyone that basketball was a team sport. I'm proud to give this award to Alison Barlow. Now regarding my S, I choose two players who I think really deserve it. The first one is definitely the biggest surprise of the season. She joined my team a few days after the start of the season, and I have to say that it was a good day because she was very helpful throughout the season. She's a quiet person, but during the game, she has never intimidated by other teams. Indeed, if it was a tall or small player, she never hesitated. She was still playing as if it was the last game of her life. How many times did she fight or simply like was really willing to dive for the ball. I cannot count. I choose this person because she was not afraid to make her place in the team. She was there at key moments and she has an impeccable work ethic. I'm proud to give this award to Corinne Chan. And finally, the second person I have chosen is probably one of the most complete players in this team. Every practice she came prepared and was ready to begin. She was a great help for the team at various significant times. For example, she scored 2 foul shots to give us victory against Richmond at the final game of ATI playoffs. And guess what? She took no merits. She simply said, "We won. I was not alone on that victory. In that victory." She also recognized that the comments and attitude of her teammates, Alex, had helped us these shots. She's always put them first rather than personal statistics. So in short, I'm proud to give this award to Emily Willis, an ambitious young girl who has a great team spirit throughout the season. Good job.
At this time, I'd like to call up the coach for the squash team, Mr. Prevost.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenek. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank all the people who were involved to make this season successful. Mrs. Kirby, who our valuable co-coach, Mr. Benvenek for his support, Mr. Williams, the former coach, Mrs. Sheldon for providing everything the team needed, and finally Ms. Perrault, our school nurse, who took care of all the small and more serious injuries. This year we started the season with 8 girls and 10 boys, 5 of which were returning players from last year. We also welcomed new students who had different level of experience in racket sports, although squash was new to them. Being successful at squash requires a mixture of technique, strategy, and most importantly, determination, which often makes a difference. I like to compare squash to a boxing ring, where the winner is often the one who shows the most willpower. The people who progress most during the season are probably the ones who spent more time on the court. Improvement comes with practice and repetition, and this is not a surprise if our best players were the ones who were the most active not only during practices, but also after and during the weekends. This year, our best players participated in 4 tournaments against the BCS team. Our participants were Connor Fletcher and P.Y. Sheng, who battled firstly for the first position throughout the season. Kiefer Hayward, who was a strong competitor, who applied his soccer goalie diving techniques on the court in order to reach the ball. Jeffrey Liao, probably the most improved player, who did lots of extra hours to improve his game. Ulysse Mera, who often surprised his opponent, and himself too, with his unexpected shots. Simonetta Gaumont, a quick and energetic competitor who gave trouble to many of the boys. Louisa Echait, who used her tennis background to develop her skills. And Jajama, who was intimidated by her first tournament, but finally concluded it in style. The other group of students, although they were not involved with tournaments, were keen participants to the practices. Momoko improved her skills significantly, bringing to the team her good sense of humor and her kind nature. Akimasa and Penny copied some of Kiefer's diving techniques and were always challenging on the court. Trevor brought his smile and his music and raised the team spirit, being the official DJ on the team. Hélène and Shayla, who have no squash background at all at the beginning of the season, improved significantly. And last but not least, Hiromu and Ziren, gentlemen indeed, they both raised their game to a higher level. In all seriousness, I would like to thank and commend you all. It was great to work with you, and I am honored to be your coach. You made the squash court a fun place to be after school, and time flew in your company. On top of this, you guys managed to win the season's title, winning 3 tournaments to 1 against BCS. Finally, it's time to give the awards to the deserving students. This year I will give 3 of them, the Sportsmanship Award and 2 Senior S's. The Sportsmanship Award goes to Jeffrey Yao. On the court, Jeffrey is very competitive, but at the same time, he is a smiling gentleman who, win or lose, never gives up his laugh and his kindness. The first Senior S goes to P.Y. Chun. Throughout the season, P.Y. increased his game to a higher level and competed hard at every tournament. P.Y. is potentially a returning athlete on our team, and I'm looking forward next year to seeing him develop his great potential. Finally, second Senior S goes to Connor Fletcher. A veteran on our team, Connor is a quiet leader who leads by example, with his dedication to the game and his attitude in general. He was our #1 player for most of the season. Showing resilience in front of adversity, he managed to beat BCS best 2 players during the last tournament, and he set the tone to our season's title. As he is leaving the school at the end of the year, I encourage Connor to continue playing squash at the university like his older brother does. It is now time to close a chapter for the squash team. After 5 years, we will miss not having a Fletcher on the court next November. Please, winners, come take your prize. Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. Prevo. At this time, I'd like to call up the coach for the Prep Boys hockey team, Mr. Ryu.
I'd like to extend a warm welcome to 2 guests from Sweden, Pia Claus, Buster's aunt and uncle. Welcome to Stanstead. Special thank you to Coach Fraser, whose passion and friendship made this year very special. Equally to Coach Vanas, his dedication to the program as a former student athlete here and just basically every weekend tournament director throughout the year, has been most appreciative. And one of the highlights of this season was being able to work with Patrick and Logan every day. So a heartfelt thank you. It was a pleasure having you guys as co-coaches. Same goes to team manager Emmanuel, part-time, full-time, sometime. It was great having you. How to characterize this season? Lots of injuries, 6 different concussions, 2 broken collarbones, lots of kids who came in and out of the lineup, largely due to us having the youngest team on the ice virtually every time we drop the puck, and probably a very ambitious schedule. For those of you who may or may not know, we played basically a senior team every time we dropped the puck with, for the most part, 14 and 15-year-old players, with a few 16 and a few 17. So it definitely was a season where we grew as a group, a season where we grew as individuals. We had some incredibly talented kids. We had some kids who had played a lot of hockey. We had some kids who had played, not as much and definitely more of a, maybe even a recreational level, but I think there's no doubt that one of the highlights of the season was the way we grew as individuals and the way we grew as a team, largely to a new system of practice that I credit to Coach Bluziani and Thompson. I've learned a lot watching both of those individuals the last 2 seasons, and I genuinely believe in everything that we did this year. Practice was fun, and I think that if you thought hardly about the season, you'd all agree that we really had our best memories, 4 times a week in practice. The awards. The Sportsmanship Award, if you guys could all come up together at the end. The Sportsmanship Award goes to a phenomenal human being, one of the most even-keeled individuals on the team. He's younger than his grade. He's come a long way, certainly impressed all of the coaches as far as how he raised his level from the last couple of years to this year. All around a great guy with incredible potential. That goes to Will Huckins. Anyone who got a chance to see us play know that you could argue that we definitely had a polarized team. We had a group that was incredibly strong and talented that everybody knew, and whenever they were on the ice against the opposition that we played, they were essentially the best players in every game we played. We had a second-tier group of players that worked incredibly hard, offered great support, contributed, and will be that much better next year. And then I'd say we had a third group. So there will be 5 junior S's, get that right, to kids that we basically couldn't play without. We had a power play that borderline between 30 and 45%, and all 5 needed to be together to make that successful. The first goes to our captain, Kyle Moring, who's not a defenseman but agreed to play defense for 1.5 years. He finished with 32 points as a D. The second goes to Karen Davtian, who was incredibly impressive when you think of what he did throughout the season, having played essentially on 2 different teams, often practicing twice a day. Karen finished with 42 points. The third goes to one of the most talented individuals I've seen in my time at this age at this school. Chris Tellier finished with 121 points and 57 goals. The fourth goes to one of our captains, Jacob Ducharme, who also had a remarkable season, besting his points from last year with 43 goals and a total of 88 points. And the fifth goes to, without a doubt, the most complete and overall most valuable player on this team, Olivier Fauché, who finished with 103 points and 37 goals. Could all of you please come forward?